I'm talking with Nigel Bishop of Rococo Property Search. Nigel, just tell me about your background and your history in the property market, please.
I've spent my entire business life in the property market, and indeed carrying on from my father, who also was. For many years, I developed a fairly traditional firm of chartered surveyors and estate agents in the southwest, dealing with village country houses. I then moved on just over 20 years ago, acting purely on a retained basis for buyers as a property buying agent. And this is where I've developed a business that now covers right across the south of England. So we act for private individuals looking to buy special properties, many moving from one area to another, and indeed from around the world to the UK. So we act purely for private individuals. We look for special properties, and many of those are, of course, not that easy to find. So our expertise comes in terms of looking for them, and then hopefully giving the right advice to make sure they get those properties, special properties that they do want.
Good, thank you. And of course, the impact of the coronavirus is going to affect our lives in many, many ways. How do you think it's going to affect the way we feel about our homes?
I think it's the most important fact there. It's going to make people realise that home and the value of home is infinitely more than just a financial aspect. There is the value of the security of what home represents for an individual, for a family. And if you think about it, what do most of us spend our lives doing? We spend a life evolving with a family and creating a home environment that works for that family. And that evolves over the years as life evolves and requirements change quite a lot. So people move as they need, sometimes within an area, sometimes they up sticks and think, goodness, we can move from an urban city environment to a rural environment or a waterside environment. And I think this current COVID-19 scenario is making a lot of people realize that home really is the core to that lifestyle, where it is and what it offers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's quite a big differential, isn't there, between your working life and your home life, with your office being your place of work, your factory or whatever, and then you come home to the sanctuary of your home. That's going to change, I think, though, isn't it, with the way that technology is developing, and particularly during the lockdown period where people have had to work from home. How do you think that might affect people's perception of their home?
I think there will be two schools of thought there. There will be those that very definitely realise that home can be multi-purpose, depending on what business and work they're involved in, whether it is possible to actually predominantly work from home. If it is, then I think all of us will have been rapidly improving our technology skills to be able to use the facilities that are out there now that weren't, that we can link remotely with people around the world, and we can have conference calls, we can have meetings visually and verbally, and it works. So it's making people realize that the frenetic lifestyle that many lead, chasing around, jumping on the tube at 7 o'clock in the morning and things like that, maybe that doesn't have to happen, but it will need the input, the backup of that technology, because people don't like to be isolated. They don't like to be remote from other people. So they do need that connection. And that will still be hugely important, but it's going to be a better balance than it might have been before.
Indeed, I agree, Nigel. And What about life in general? I think there's been a lot of resetting during the lockdown period, and people have taken stock of where they are with their lives. Just the way we live our lives is going to change, which will clearly have an effect on what we look for from a home, won't it?
Yes. Again, it's totally dependent on individuals' requirements, their expectations. I think the one thing that's coming out of this as well that many people hadn't realised was important, or as important as it really is the connection with families, different generations of families. It's taken for granted that people get in touch with parents or grandparents every so often. And I think all of this is making people perhaps go back to how life was decades, centuries ago, that family life, family connections, and that in turn, I think, will create a scenario where multi-generational living might come back again by using the finances of different generations to buy properties, bigger properties that they actually share and use together. We're in a situation here, as we've known for a while, that the baby boom generation are very often capital rich, and the next generation are probably income rich, but not necessarily capital rich. So if you put the two together, they can purchase properties that could work for everybody. And then going forwards, you know, when the older generation get to the point they need perhaps a little bit of help in life, that setup is there, and it's there. So I think people, it won't work for everybody by any means, but it's an angle that I believe will make people realise that life can change a little bit. So to finalise, I would say whatever life needs, home will always be at the core. It is the one constant, even if it changes over the years. Practically, financially and emotionally, it gives focus and purpose. That's what home is. Home is all about coming home.
Nigel, that's great. Thank you very much for your time. If someone wants to contact you, what are your details?
Best contact, as ever, is the email address, which is njb@recoco.co.uk. Recoco is spelled RECOCO. And my mobile number, I'm happy for people to call me, is 07939 559 349.